The Forbidden Crossing. The Galaxy's Iron Rule. The Kashari Dominion had controlled the eastern spiral arm of the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their empire stretched across 400 star systems, and their word was absolute law. The Kashari were a proud species, standing nearly 8 feet tall with crystalline skin that shimmered like polished obsidian. Their eyes glowed with inner fire, and their voices carried the weight of ages. They had conquered 17 civilizations and absorbed them into their collective. No species had ever challenged their authority and survived to tell the tale. The Kashari maintained order through fear and overwhelming military might. Their war fleets numbered in the thousands, each vessel capable of reducing a planet to ash within hours. But their greatest weapon was not their ships or their soldiers. It was their reputation. Every species in the known galaxy understood one simple truth. You did not cross into Kashari space unless you were prepared to die. An accidental intrusion. The research vessel Prometheus Edge drifted silently through the cosmic void, its sensors reaching out to map unexplored regions of space. Captain Elena Vasquez sat in her command chair, reviewing data on her tablet while her crew worked around her. Elena was 42 years old, with sharp features and eyes that missed nothing. She had spent 20 years exploring the unknown, charting new territories for humanity's expansion. Her crew of 38 scientists and engineers were the best Earth had to offer. They were not soldiers or warriors. They were dreamers who believed that knowledge could light up the darkness of space. Dr. Sarah Chin, the ship's lead astrophysicist, noticed something strange in her readings. A gravitational anomaly had appeared without warning, pulling them off their planned route. She called out to Elena, her voice tight with concern. Elena moved quickly to Sarah's station and studied the data. The numbers told a story that made her blood run cold. They had been pulled across an invisible boundary, dragged by forces they could not control. They were now deep inside Kashari territory. The trap closes. The alarm system screamed to life before Elena could issue orders. 6 Kashari interceptor ships materialized around them, their dark hulls absorbing light like hungry shadows. Each vessel bristled with weapon arrays that could tear the Prometheus Edge apart in seconds. The lead ship broadcast a message in perfect Earth standard, the translation cold and mechanical. Elena's communications officer, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, played the message for everyone to hear. The Kashari commander's voice filled the bridge with icy authority. Human vessel, you have violated sacred Kashari space. Your presence here is an act of war. Surrender immediately. Your ship, your crew, and all knowledge you possess now belong to the Kashari Dominion. Resistance will result in immediate destruction. You have 30 seconds to comply. Elena felt every eye on the bridge turn toward her. These people trusted her to keep them safe, to make the right decisions. But what decision could she make when every option led to disaster? She thought of the families back on Earth, the children who would never see their parents again if she made the wrong choice. She thought of humanity's future, of what would happen if the Kashari learned everything Earth knew about technology and defenses. A captain's courage. Elena opened a communication channel to the Kashari commander. Her voice was steady despite the fear that gripped her heart. I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terran Research Fleet. Our entry into your territory was unintentional, caused by a gravitational anomaly beyond our control. We are scientists, not soldiers. We carry no weapons and seek no conflict. I request permission to leave your space peacefully. The Kashari commander appeared on the main view screen. His name was Vorith, and his crystalline face reflected the bridge lights in harsh angles. His glowing eyes studied Elena with the interest a predator shows wounded prey. He spoke slowly, savoring each word. There are no accidents in Kashari space, human. Only those foolish enough to challenge our sovereignty. Your excuses mean nothing. Your ship will be boarded. Your crew will be taken. Your technology will be studied and absorbed. This is the fate of all who enter our domain. Elena felt anger rise within her chest, hot and fierce. She had spent her life pursuing peaceful exploration, believing that the universe was vast enough for all species to coexist. But now she faced a species that knew only domination and control. The message home. While Elena kept Vorith talking, Lieutenant Webb worked frantically at his station. His fingers flew across holographic controls as he prepared an emergency beacon. The beacon contained everything: their location, the situation they faced, recordings of the Kashari threats, and detailed scans of the enemy ships. Webb knew that sending the message might be seen as an act of aggression, but he also knew that Earth needed to understand what had happened. With a single keystroke, he launched the beacon toward human space at faster-than-light speeds. The Kashari sensors detected it immediately. Vorith's expression shifted from cold amusement to something darker. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You dare to call for help? You compound your crimes with defiance. This will not be forgotten, human. Your suffering will serve as an example to your entire species. The Kashari ships moved into boarding positions. Elena watched helplessly as magnetic clamps locked onto her vessel's hull. She turned to her crew and saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. These people had volunteered to explore the unknown, knowing the risks. Now they would face those risks together. Earth's dark hour. The emergency beacon reached the edge of human territory and was immediately forwarded to Earth's United Coalition headquarters. Within an hour, it sat on the desk of Commander James Chin, head of the Terran Defense Fleet. James was 55 years old, a career military officer who had served humanity through 2 colonial conflicts and countless border skirmishes. He read the reports 3 times, each reading making his jaw tighter. The Kashari had never directly threatened humanity before. The 2 species had maintained a cold distance, acknowledging each other's existence but never interacting. Now that distance had shattered. 38 human lives hung in the balance, and the Kashari had made their intentions clear. James called an emergency session of the Coalition Council. 30 representatives from Earth's nations gathered in the Great Chamber, their faces grave. The debate that followed was fierce and painful. Some argued for caution, pointing out that the Kashari could destroy Earth's entire fleet. Others demanded immediate action, insisting that humanity could not abandon its own people to slavery. The arguments stretched for hours, voices rising in passion and fear. A commander's resolve. James Chin listened to every word, but his decision had already been made. When the council finally fell silent, he stood and addressed them all. His voice carried the weight of absolute conviction. I understand your concerns. The Kashari are more powerful than we are. They have more ships, more weapons, more experience in war. Every logical calculation says we should abandon the Prometheus Edge and its crew. Every strategic analysis says we cannot win this fight. But I did not join the defense fleet to make logical calculations. I joined to protect human lives. Those 38 people out there are not numbers on a report. They are mothers and fathers. They are daughters and sons. They are the best and brightest minds humanity has produced. The day we abandon them is the day we lose our humanity. The council chamber erupted in shouts of protest and support. James ignored them all. He had made his decision and nothing would change it. He turned to his aide and gave simple orders. Mobilize the 3rd Defense Fleet. All available ships, all personnel. We leave for Kashari space in 6 hours. His aide stared at him in shock. Commander, the 3rd Fleet has only 42 ships. The Kashari will overwhelm us. James smiled grimly. Then we will have to be smarter than they are. Alert all captains. Tell them to prepare for unconventional warfare. We are not going to fight the Kashari on their terms. We are going to show them what humans do when their people are threatened. The fleet assembles. Across Earth's orbital shipyards, crews scrambled to prepare vessels for immediate departure. 42 warships, from massive carriers to small fast-attack cruisers, came alive with purpose. Thousands of men and women boarded these vessels, many of them leaving families behind with uncertain goodbyes. They knew the odds. They knew they might not return. But they went anyway because Commander Chin had asked them to, and because somewhere in the darkness their people needed them. On the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable, James Chin watched the fleet form up around him. Each ship reported ready status, their captains' voices filled with determination. James thought about Elena Vasquez and her crew, wondered if they were still alive, wondered if they had given up hope. He opened a fleet-wide channel so every crew member on every ship could hear him. The Kashari think they know what humans are. They think we are weak because we prefer peace. They think we will surrender because the odds are against us. They are wrong. We are going into their territory to bring our people home. We may be outnumbered. We may be outgunned. But we have something the Kashari have forgotten. We fight for each other. We never leave anyone behind. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us strong. Engines roared to life across the fleet. 42 ships turned toward Kashari space and began their journey into the unknown. Behind them, Earth watched and waited. Ahead of them, the Dominion prepared for war. And somewhere between, 38 prisoners held on to hope that help was coming. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity truly meant when they said no one gets left behind. The unbreakable spirit. Prisoners of the Dominion. The Kashari prison ship Eternal Judgment was a monument to despair. Its corridors were dark and cold, illuminated only by harsh blue lights that hurt human eyes. Captain Elena Vasquez and her crew had been separated into small groups and locked in containment cells designed for species much larger than humans. The crystalline walls absorbed sound, making every space feel dead and empty. Elena shared a cell with Dr. Sarah Chen and Lieutenant Marcus Webb. They sat on metal benches that were too tall for comfort, their feet dangling above the floor like children. Guards passed by every few hours, their glowing eyes studying the prisoners with cold curiosity. Sarah had stopped crying after the first day. Now she simply stared at the walls, her brilliant mind trapped in a cage with nothing to solve. Marcus kept testing the door mechanisms, searching for weaknesses in systems far more advanced than anything Earth had built. Elena watched them both and felt the weight of command crushing down on her shoulders. These people had trusted her leadership, and now they were prisoners facing an uncertain fate. But Elena had not survived 20 years of deep space exploration by giving up when things looked impossible. She gathered her companions close and spoke in a whisper that barely carried across the cell. The seed of resistance. Listen carefully. Elena's voice was firm despite their circumstances. The Kashari think they have won because they captured our ship. They think we are helpless because we are locked in these cells. But they have made a mistake. They have kept us alive. As long as we breathe, we can act. As long as we think, we can plan. We are scientists and explorers. We solve problems that seem impossible. This is just another problem. Marcus looked at her with hope rekindling in his eyes. What do you have in mind, Captain? Elena smiled grimly. The Kashari have absorbed 17 civilizations. That means they rely on integrated technology from multiple species. Their systems are complex, probably too complex for perfect compatibility. We need to find the cracks in that complexity. Sarah's scientific mind engaged immediately, pulling her from despair. The environmental controls in this ship use 3 different power frequencies. I noticed it when they moved us from the Prometheus Edge. That kind of integration always creates vulnerabilities. The 3 of them began to plan in whispers, their voices so low that even the sensitive Kashari sensors could not detect their conspiracy. They studied guard patterns, memorized shift changes, and observed every detail of their prison. Elena sent messages to other crew members during the brief moments when prisoners were allowed to exercise together. The messages were simple, coded in gestures and glances that the Kashari did not understand. Hope spread through the human prisoners like fire through dry grass. The commander's strategy. Commander James Chin stood before his fleet captains in a virtual conference that connected all 42 ships. Holographic images of his officers surrounded him, their faces showing a mixture of determination and fear. James had spent 3 days studying everything humanity knew about Kashari military tactics. The intelligence was limited, gathered from second-hand sources and ancient conflicts. But certain patterns emerged clearly. The Kashari fought with overwhelming force and rigid formations. They had not faced a real challenge in centuries, which meant they had grown comfortable with their methods. James began his briefing with brutal honesty. We cannot win a direct confrontation. One Kashari battleship has more firepower than our entire fleet. If we try to fight them ship to ship, we will be destroyed within minutes. So we are not going to fight that way. He pulled up tactical displays showing the route to Kashari space. Our advantage is speed and unpredictability. Kashari ships are massive and powerful but slow to maneuver. We will use hit-and-run tactics, strike from unexpected angles, and never stay in one place long enough for them to target us effectively. Captain Maria Rodriguez of the fast attack cruiser Phoenix spoke up, her voice skeptical. Commander, even if we reach the prison ship, how do we extract the prisoners? We cannot dock with a Kashari vessel and survive. James smiled, and there was something dangerous in that smile. We are not going to dock with them, Captain. We are going to make them want to get rid of our people. The Overlord's pride. Overlord Zithran commanded the Kashari Dominion's eastern territories from his flagship, the Absolute Authority. He was 900 years old, ancient even by Kashari standards, and he had never been defied. When reports reached him of a human fleet entering his territory, he dismissed them as insignificant. 42 primitive vessels against his hundreds? It was not a threat. It was an insult. Zithran sat on his command throne, surrounded by holographic displays showing the approaching human fleet. His senior officers stood at attention, awaiting his orders. The humans could not possibly believe they could challenge Kashari might. This had to be some form of elaborate surrender, a show of force meant to negotiate better terms for their captured crew. He opened a communication channel to the human flagship, expecting to hear pleas for mercy. Instead, he heard Commander James Chen's voice, calm and steady. Overlord Zithran, I am Commander Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet. You are holding 38 human citizens who entered your space by accident. We are here to bring them home. Release them immediately and we will withdraw peacefully. If you refuse, we will take them by force." Zithran stared at the transmission in disbelief. Then he began to laugh, a sound like grinding crystals. "The human dares to threaten us?" He spoke to Chen with amusement in his voice. "Commander, you are either very brave or very foolish. Your tiny fleet cannot stand against Kashari power. Surrender now, and I may allow your crews to live as servants rather than corpses." The dance of war. James Chen ended the transmission without another word. He had not expected diplomacy to work. The conversation had served its real purpose, keeping Zithran talking while human ships moved into position. Now he gave the order his fleet had been waiting for. "All ships, execute pattern Omega. Engage at will." The Kashari formation was a perfect wall of warships, arranged to maximize overlapping fields of fire. It was a formation that had crushed countless enemies, but it assumed the enemy would attack that wall head-on. The human fleet did not. 42 ships scattered in 42 different directions, moving at maximum speed. They dove through asteroid fields, skimmed the edges of gas giants, and used every piece of natural cover available. Kashari commanders tried to pursue, but their massive ships could not match human agility. Then the humans struck. Fast attack cruisers emerged from behind planetary rings and fired precision strikes at Kashari engine clusters. The damage was minimal, but it forced the massive ships to divert power to shields. Heavy frigates used electromagnetic pulses to temporarily disable Kashari sensors, creating blind spots in their formation. Carriers launched waves of fighter craft that swarmed around Kashari vessels like angry insects, too small to target effectively but numerous enough to be annoying. Zithran watched in growing frustration as his perfect formation fell into chaos. His ships were not being destroyed, but they were being humiliated. Every time his forces converged on one human vessel, 3 others would attack from different angles. The humans refused to stand and fight like honorable warriors. Breaking the cage. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Elena felt the ship shudder as weapons fire struck its shields. The sounds of battle filtered through the crystalline walls, and she knew the moment had come. Marcus had spent days carefully overloading a power conduit in their cell, using techniques so subtle that the automated monitoring systems had not detected the problem. Now, as the prison ship diverted power to combat systems, that overload cascaded into a failure. The cell door's locking mechanism clicked open. Elena moved immediately, leading Sarah and Marcus into the corridor. They had memorized the guard patterns perfectly. Right now, with the ship at battle stations, this section should be empty. They moved quickly through the dark corridors, finding other cells and releasing their crew members. 38 humans gathered in a cargo bay, armed with improvised weapons and desperate courage. Dr. Marcus Webb accessed a maintenance terminal and displayed a ship schematic. "The communications array is 3 decks above us. If we can reach it and send a signal to the human fleet, they will know exactly where we are." Elena nodded. "That is our target. Stay together, stay quiet, and remember, we are not trying to fight our way out. We are trying to survive long enough to be rescued." They moved through the ship like ghosts, avoiding Kashari patrols and using their smaller size to hide in spaces the tall crystalline beings could not access. Twice they were nearly discovered. Twice they managed to slip away into maintenance tunnels. Sarah's knowledge of integrated systems helped them bypass security checkpoints. Marcus's technical skills disabled alarms before they could sound. The impossible victory. Commander Chin watched the tactical display with fierce satisfaction. The Kashari fleet was in complete disarray, their ships scattered across the battle space trying to chase human vessels they could not catch. But James knew this dance could not last forever. Eventually, the Kashari would adapt or simply saturate the entire area with weapons fire. He needed the prisoners to act soon. Then his communications officer shouted with excitement. "Commander, we are receiving a signal from inside the Kashari prison ship. It is Captain Vasquez. She is transmitting their exact location." James felt hope surge through his chest. He immediately ordered his fastest ships to converge on the prison vessel. The rescue craft Mercy's Wings, designed for rapid extraction operations, accelerated toward the Eternal Judgment at maximum speed. Overlord Zithran saw the human ships converging and realized their true objective. His prisoners were escaping. The realization hit him like physical blow. In 3,000 years of Dominion history, no captured prisoners had ever escaped from a Kashari vessel. He ordered all ships to protect the Eternal Judgment, but his scattered fleet could not respond quickly enough. The Mercy's Wings dodged incoming fire with desperate grace, its pilot executing maneuvers that should have been impossible. It matched course with the prison ship and extended docking clamps. Elena and her crew reached the outer hull and used emergency airlocks to cross into the rescue vessel. Kashari guards pursued them, but human marines held the docking point with fierce determination. The message to the galaxy. 38 prisoners became 38 free people in the span of minutes. The Mercy's wings disengaged and raced away, protected by the rest of the human fleet. Zithran ordered his ships to pursue and destroy them all, but the humans had one final surprise. Every human vessel simultaneously released clouds of reflective chaff that scattered Kashari sensors. In the confusion, the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speeds and vanished. The Kashari were left staring at empty space, unable to believe what had happened. Back aboard the Indomitable, Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge next to Commander Chin. She was exhausted, bruised, and her uniform was torn. But she was smiling. Chin put a hand on her shoulder and spoke with quiet pride. "Welcome home, Captain. You did well." Elena shook her head. "We all did well, Commander. Every person on every ship. That is what the Kashari do not understand. They see individuals. We see each other. That is why we won." The news of the rescue spread across human space within hours. 38 people saved from the most powerful empire in the galaxy. 42 ships that defied impossible odds. One commander who refused to abandon his people. The story traveled beyond human borders, carried by traders and information brokers. Other species heard and wondered. The Kashari had been challenged and humiliated. Humanity had crossed into forbidden space and emerged victorious not through superior firepower but through courage, ingenuity, and an unshakable commitment to each other. Overlord Zithran sat alone in his command chamber, staring at reports he could not fully accept. The humans had been outnumbered 10 to 1. They should have been destroyed. Instead, they had rescued their people and escaped. For the first time in 900 years, Zithran felt something he had not experienced since he was young. Respect for an enemy. He composed a message to the Kashari High Command, knowing it would shake the foundations of their empire. The humans are not like other species. They do not surrender when logic says they should. They do not abandon their people when the odds are impossible. We have treated them as primitives, but they have shown us something we have forgotten. True strength is not measured in ships or weapons. It is measured in the willingness to stand together against any threat. The Dominion must reconsider its assessment of humanity. They are not primitives to be conquered. They are rivals to be respected. His message was sent and the galaxy shifted. Humanity had crossed into Dominion space and remained unshaken. That truth would echo across the stars for generations to come.